pilot to ATC on top of my OBS. So I did notice that it wasn't moving. So Aussie Flyer, thanks for the heads up. Let's see. Now I'm going to start turning on course for this thing. I think it's behind me. Yeah. So far, other than that OBS crashing, I haven't really had any frames FPS issues.
Cessna 12 Bravo, contact departure on 133.0. Good day.
Approved as requested.
Departure on 133.0. Cessna November 212 Bravo.
November 212 Bravo, departure frequency is 133.0.
31.
Frequency is 133.0. Cessna 12 Bravo.
Cessna 12 Bravo at 3,600.
November 212 Bravo, departure frequency is 133.0.
Oh. 133. That's my bad. There we go.
Cessna 12 Bravo, contact Boston Center on 127.905. Have a good morning. Center on 127.905. Cessna 12 Bravo.
Cessna 12 Bravo at 4,200 for 5,500. I think I was supposed to go 4,500. Shoot.
Radar contact.
I am supposed to go 4,500. I'm going to go autopilot and hold. I'm going to back off of this. Cessna November 212 Bravo at assigned altitude. See if it recognizes that. I don't think it will. Alright. Going to start to use the heading bug and go left a little bit. And heading. Turn off the landing light. Alright, now that we're back in action here, typically when my OBS hangs or freezes, I get the weird Windows bing, and I didn't get that. I'm going to check in with this, with the center, with the Say It speech assistant, and say my current report, my assigned altitude.
Cessna 12 Bravo at 4,500 feet. Cessna 12 Bravo, radar contact.
Okay, and that should keep me on pace with the computer. So what I noticed that there definitely was some different looking buildings. So I think the that was an improvement in the new X-plane here. I've been holding steady in Boston, 30 frames. And there is definitely a lot of room to go in the GPU. I mean, that's a huge amount. And so my graphics settings are here. So it looks like I could probably either go up on the anti-aliasing or the visual effects. But just going to kind of play it out and see how it goes for tonight. And then, you know, experiment a tiny bit more. So I started studying the Visual Flight Maneuvers Handbook. Can you guys see that? I gotta move my pilot to ATC. I need another monitor. So I started to take some notes. I'm going to try to maybe make a few things a little bit more procedurally accurate. Pitot heat is on, good. Then I also bought, I know, early Christmas for me. Radio Mastery for VFR Pilots by Jeff Canarish. So far the book has been awesome. I've read about 90 pages or so. Good humor, easy to read, explaining things with logic and common sense, unlike some things in aviation. You know, it's definitely I would put it on a highly recommended list. Just going to turn a tiny bit more on course. A little stuttery right there, maybe. Maybe, yeah, maybe a little bit. But actually this shake and the shaking could be X-plane realistic. You know, I do have the engine vibration on. So I'm hoping that Flight Sim Economy plugin cleaned off the trees, or this is going to be kind of funny. So I got zoom level, I believe this is zoom level 17 in Boston. I think most of my New England was zoom level 17, my home turf. I have draw shadows on too. And with ortho, it kind of comes in with built-in shadows from when the photos were taken. So I'm not sure if I need that or not. I know it would probably be a pretty big, or you know, it would increase the frames per second. So yeah, that's something I'm going to play around with a little bit. And maybe during like big cities where there's a lot of buildings and it's drawing a lot of shadows, maybe turn it off there. $4,500. Probably could lean the aircraft a little bit. Good, everything's looking reasonably good. Still trying to stay VFR underneath these clouds. How the clouds look. These might be different. I'm not finding them hugely offensive or anything, so you know, as we've been talking about weather engines, I think I'm gonna stick with this until maybe Active Sky becomes a player. Hopefully Just Flight won't come out with any more planes for X-Plane, because that Piper Arrow, it makes me want to buy more of their products. Not sure where that is in Boston. That might be the ballpark over there. That looks like kind of the relationship where I think Fenway Park would be. Dropped a little too much airspeed there. minus 5 degrees Celsius up here. It's pretty cold. Sounds like someone's calling my name. What's up? No, I'm good. Yeah, that pasta was perfect. Yeah, thanks. Checking in about some dinner, which I kind of had a weird late dinner, so I'm not hungry. Probably be departing the Bravo in a couple of minutes here. Let's see, watched a little bit of football this morning. Soccer. Some fun matches. I did not get to see the ending of Everton and Liverpool. Light snow in England. Watch the Cowboys beat up on the Giants. Kind of pure luck. You know, Cowboys weren't as good as the score indicated. The Giants were as bad. Oh, did they get a late penalty? Okay. It was a fun game. What was the first one was good too. Yeah, it kind of was, you know, as my kids were playing, using my computer, keeping me from live streaming. I was watching soccer. I don't know why everybody doesn't watch it. It's such a good game. There goes the choo-choo train in between the golf course. That's kind of cool. Too much soccer? Or too many penalties? Yeah, that's one of the differences. Like, I think the popularity is growing as like the World Cup, the women's popularity, I think is really starting to have an impact, and I think the global or the appeal is starting to get is starting to get greater in America. Yeah, I guess that's one thing I think in general about all sports is they're becoming so routine. Like baseball, to me, does not really get interesting until the end of August. And it's a totally different thing. Like even football, even with 16 games, you know, each one of those, because it is a short season, has a little bit more impact. But when it's on Sunday, Monday, Thursdays, and now I think there's been some of those Saturday games, it's becoming so watered down, too popular. But the one thing about soccer though is like you kind of got to search for it on my channel. You know, it's not as you know, you got to have NBC Sports 1 or Fox Sports 1. I love watching the Australian Open. I love open tennis. I cannot watch not open tennis, But if I start watching a Grand Slam Open tennis match, I'm sucked in. I'll watch a bunch of Wimbledon. I'll watch as much Australian as I have time for. You know, the time difference on that one's a little bit rougher. And I think that's part of a little bit where ESPN's kind of gone down. They used to show like Australian rules football. They would show cricket in the early years, and that's where you know, they grew into be the sports leader. You used to be able to watch. I love America's Cup when it's on. Oh, that is so cool. But it's not really on. You got, again, that's one of those, some of that stuff that you can't find. You know, it's lost that much popularity. It's hard, you know, it's hard to find. Yeah, I like both men's and women's tennis too. I love watching Venus Williams knock the crap out of the ball. It'll be interesting to see how she performs after the, you know, the baby's 1 and 2 years old. Yeah, American football with all the, you know, the protesting and the commonality of it. Like I was saying, you know, it's on all the time. You know, before it was Sundays and, you know, the Monday night game. Now there's a lot of times there's 2 games on Mondays. It's definitely starting to, you know, the ebb and flow, the cost. Some of these places you're paying $100 or more to park your car. $100 to park your car. That's like parking your car in New York City for 2 days, probably. Well, maybe a day and a half. But to get into the gate, into the $100. That's crazy, and that's where it's losing a lot of the common fan base. Alright, now to try to search out for this hidden runway. Should be falling a little bit faster than this with the nose down. There we go. Ooh, that's to pay that much at a hospital? Well, that's brutal. You know, our hospitals, you know, if you're going to visit somebody, it's a couple bucks. Maybe it might cost you, you know, if you're there for the day, it might cost, you know, I want to say like $10. Haven't had to visit anybody in the hospital lately, which is a good thing. I kind of want to say it was near this lake. I bet it's right there. It's weird. It seems like at this idle, like I'm barely got any propeller in this. I would be dropping down more than this. I don't think it's not. Is it? I'm pretty sure it's down in here, which is good. Alright, I don't think that's it. Zoom in on this a little bit. Alright, I see some flags down there. That's gotta be it. It does look like the exclusion zone is better. Okay, so yeah, last time I flew into here, trees everywhere. This looks so much better. Yeah, there's the flag right there. Alright, I'll take that as the runway. Yeah, no, it's way better than it was last time. Trying to find an extended center line over that stuff down there. There was another one that I was flying to that it had a similar issue. Right now, this aircraft is feeling whacked. Like I got a ton of trim into it. Oh, know what it is? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm smart. That's pretty funny. Fighting the autopilot. Where'd it go? Somehow I lost sight of it. I thought it was like, I think it's right there. Yeah, override the autopilot. I made it. Might have clipped that tree. Kind of afraid to look at the. Let's take a quick look. So let's see. We'll pop the brake. We'll do the economy. We'll finish the flight. All right, this aircraft is no longer rented. Let's do an Alt-R. Kind of bonsai'd in there. If I can back up and rotate around this thing a little bit. See, that's... I think this will be corrected a little bit in VR. I guess that's pretty close to the tree line. I felt like I was on it. It's an embarrassing small amount, I'll tell you in a second. I only had one passenger. 30 miles was it? Alright. Turn that back off. Get back in the aircraft. We will go to find my economy page. And so now that we're at the economy page, we will go to the bank. And the payment log says the full pay was $474. And all my, I got a lot of duplicate in the, so I must have to pay New England Flight Support $23.70 and Vampiric Air $23.70. So there's a lot of these like weird double splits. I didn't have to pay, this is the rental of the aircraft, that comes back to me. So what did I make? 400 bucks? Let's see. I don't know if there's a direct what the net is, but yeah, it was roughly around $400. And so what I like to keep a couple grand in the bank, so I'm going to deposit $1,000. You do make interest. 1,000. And so here we are in the, as you can see in the Airfoil Labs. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, look forward to seeing you in some chat sometime down the road. WOT TCV 15 is out for tonight. Yeah, so Aussie Fly didn't make a lot of money on that. My biggest money maker is when I use the Caravan. So with the Caravan, you can pick up 13 passengers, I believe, and you can make some really good money on those. Kind of with the money that I'm sitting on 129,000. I don't know if I'm gonna save up and eventually buy a Caravan. There is financing available if I wanted to. Once you kind of get 20%, there's a bunch of financing people that you can get loans from on Flight Sim Economy. How much is a $700,000 loan? What does it like? You play Flight Sim Economy for 30 years? I've been using Flight Sim Economy. I'm not even sure. Probably going in easily into my second year. I don't know how far back records go. Let me see if there's a. That's 2017. Why did they? So it looks like April. No, that's like going in the wrong direction. Maybe I did a crap load of flights. These are getting March 10th. Wow, it looks like I've done a crap load of flights. I was thinking I could just kind of scroll back and I don't know if monthly statements, that's just the previous month. I'm going to say I've been into it at least almost probably going on 2 years. Yeah, without having to scroll all the way back through. I'm gonna say a couple years. It's limited too in the number of hours that you can fly in a 48-hour period. People were doing the, the 2 times and 4 times speeding up their simulators, and so they were doing a lot of flights very quickly. So they put a limit, a kind of a cap on it, so that you can't outgame the game. I mean, enough people were kind of outgaming the game by putting drop tanks and extra fuel stuff on their aircraft, and so they were flying kind of like ridiculously long trips for certain aircraft. So they've been trying to clamp down on some of the sort of the dishonesty of it. Some of the flight models were also changed for a little while, where the sim, or the flight sim economy, tried to calculate how much fuel you should use, and if you did not meet that, they would not count the trip. So, you know, again, people were trying to outgame the system, but I think they kind of corrected that. I think they fixed a lot of the fuel burns. And, you know, there was some conversation about some of the changes that need to be done. I guess it has a lot of old, like FSX aircraft that nobody really has, and nobody really has them in many of the sims anymore. And some of the other aircraft that are not available that are kind of readily available. So there's like kind of a misbalance. And it also, there's some people kind of remark that those that got in early on flight sim economy and bought like Boston, LAX, you know, they're sitting on millions for their FBOs, and you know, they're not selling them, they're not moving them. So, you know, there's some of those parts that you're not going to really be able to get a foothold in. That's always the case. You know, that's always the case. You know, if you're going to play something, you might as well play it. Like I play Battlefield 1, and you know, there's some guys that shoot you from like 2 miles away, and like, you know, it's like an insta kill, like headshot, and they have some kind of cheat hacks. You know, you're shooting them like 10 times, and then they just shoot you once, and you're done. And sometimes they're not even really like barely pointed in your direction. So that's an aggravating part, and that's always been kind of a part of like Call of Duty. You got, you know, the hackers, and I don't see the point. If you want to be good at video games, be good at the video game. If you want to be good at the simulator and you want to do flight sim economy for the enjoyment, do it for the enjoyment. Don't do it just because you want to get, you know, skip the hard work of actually flying. The fun part. It's what, you know, I think that's why we all do this, because we want to have the fun with it. So what do you fly? What kind of aircraft do you fly, Aussie Flyer? I'm going to shut down this aircraft before I totally kill the battery. Alright, so you kind of, do you fly like the big stuff like jets? Okay. Yeah, having our health is it's a pretty important thing. I was a runner, you know, not a casual runner, but my ankles and my plantar have been killing me like the last 8 months, so I've not done really much exercise at all. I want to open up these windows here. Good. No, I think X-Plane has been a great platform. With a lot of the guys that are streaming stuff, they're doing a lot of, it seems like more and more of the jetliners. So I'm really going to try to keep this to the general aviation, enthusiasts, I guess. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I gained like freaking 30 pounds. Too much. Plus the new girlfriend likes to cook, so it makes it even worse. Just kind of compounds my problem. Yeah, so some of this, you know, I'm just trying to like get a little bit of the, you know, see what the direction people want me to take the channel. I'm trying to keep it casual with, you know, not being overly, you know, try not to make it too checklisty, I guess. You know, so I'm still trying to keep a sense of, you know, we're still using a sim, rather than being like making it like a hardcore pilot sim. Okay, so good. So you have a good base on, you know, how the flight dynamics are on some of these aircrafts. I had in the stream the other night Kay Adams. I forget what his numbers were after his name. He's a pilot, you know, and he was coaching me through some pattern work. Oh, cool! Owning your own aircraft. That's awesome. I'm gonna look that one up. I don't know those. My grandfather was a pilot, and he was a bomber pilot in World War II. So that's kind of where my love of aviation started. We went to every like air show, air museum, all over the place. You know, we went aircraft spotting, and you know, he'd take us over to, you know, the local field, and we'd just watch aircraft. You know, he loved it. Kept us from getting like bored. So that's kind of where I've kind of always had an eye on aviation. You know, just for fun, and then, you know, using simulators. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be really truly disciplined enough to maintain the safety standards. Same thing why I don't have a motorcycle. I'm pretty sure if I had a motorcycle, I'd want the fastest one on the planet, and I'd probably drive myself off a cliff with it. Pretty sure I wouldn't be able to manage myself. So what are you guys, 12 hours ahead of us? So is it tomorrow there? Is it already Monday there? Okay, so yeah, it's yeah, so you're way ahead of us. It's 7:30 p.m. here. So you own one of these? J4. J4. That's just the engine. So it's pretty neat. I kind of got off on a tangent. Like when Kay Adams was helping me in with my pattern work, one of the things that I think is missing from the sim is the gravity and the pitch of the aircraft as you're leaving. So trying to maintain the pitch of 70, 74 knots taking off. You know, whether the nose is up too high or too low, if you're trying to do it strictly by the number, it kind of, I don't have a frame of reference, so it's tricky to say whether, you know, I'm pitched up too much and when to bring the nose down a little bit more. So that's one of those differences in a sim that I think that it's probably a little bit easier once you have a better frame of reference, like in real life. Well, that's a good thing, I guess, for me, is that, you know, if it is, you know, harder in a simulator, you know, a lot of people do report some of it is trickier. You know, getting that organic feel of trimming out the aircraft, I think, seems like it would be easier in real life. You know, I think if I had 3 monitors or a VR headset and you sort of had that peripheral vision, you could gauge it a little bit better whether you're level without staring at the six-pack as much. Yeah, exactly. No seat of the pants, no, yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that are different. So I think this is a pretty good place. I'm going to take off for tonight. I'm going to split, get out of here. Got to go do a little bit more dealings with the family. Thanks for coming by the channel. Look forward to any input if you have any comments or things that you'd like to see a little bit more of, a little bit less of. If you want to try me to get more into pilot to ATC, that's something that I haven't seen really many people stream. I had a lead on another guy that does stream it, and I'm going to check in with him. I forget what his name was, but it was somebody that was in the chat last time I streamed, said go check out this guy. He's done pilot to ATC. So I'm kind of curious on what his approach was with it. If it was a general aviation or if it was you know, if he did more IFR with jets. Yeah, it's one of those ones. The program has been, I think it's been evolving. So yeah, I think it has changed. If there's something in it that you want to see, or if you think that there's something like that's weirdly missing out of it, the developer, I sent him an email today because somebody had a question whether you could use it on Prepared and FSX, and then when I show my config file. Right there at the bottom, it has all my license key and my activation code. So I asked him if he could change that and have that hidden so that when I am answering questions on stream, people won't see all that information. He said he said absolutely, like he'll try to configure that for one of the next updates. So he got right back to me about any questions. Yeah, if you're using VATSIM and you're comfortable on that, and you're finding you're having enough controllers, I think VATSIM's it's a great way to go, especially because you came from and have more real world, a lot of, you have real world experience with it, where I come from having zero real world experience with controllers. So it's kind of helped me get used to listening, hearing, get my piece of paper and pencil, and knowing when I'm going to have to jot stuff down. So I think it's been a pretty good trainer tool. I think there's a couple more things that for my proficiency with it before I really kind of venture online more. A lot of people love Pilot Edge, but I don't want to spend like $29 a month. Maybe if I was retired. It is. It's, yeah. Pilot Edge, though, they have dedicated controller times. So that's all really published. They stick to it. If you want, it's I don't know if you know who Marcus is. He has a stream. I'll see if I can find it on my phone. He's one of the Pilot Edge controllers. Where is it? Let's see if I can find. Yeah, so it's he streams. He comes on at 11 o'clock East Coast time, but I don't think he's an East Coaster. And this is his Twitch handle. Is Marcus MMC. So he's a really good Pilot Edge controller. So if you're kind of looking at Pilot Edge and trying to you can kind of hear the quality. And his stream is actually pretty entertaining because when he's off mic, he's like, "All right, how many radio check-ins am I going to get? In this hour? How many people are going to use some of the wrong phraseology?" And so he keeps the content pretty light, pretty moving. But then as soon as somebody calls in, it's super serious and super business. They just expanded the Western U.S. So they just went from like Southern California. Now I think they cover almost like from the Rockies, from the Rocky Mountain chain west. I know they're down in, I think, Albuquerque, Salt Lake, and I think they're venturing up to the Pacific Northwest too. I think part of one of their jobs, one of their tough things is in order to have a good quality expansion, they're going to have good quality controllers. So I think that's kind of what, to me, that's what would hold them up. And currently, like Marcus and the other controllers, they're controlling a lot of airports. So they're managing a bunch of airports. They do it well. But I think getting more qualified controllers is the only way that they're going to be able to expand and still retain quality. I think the owner would love to do something like he gets a lot of European people flying. They would love to do something like a couple European controllers. I'm sure he would love to eventually have enough that he would have coverage in all the major places. Yeah, I haven't gone on there yet. It does have a 2-week free trial. And I guess one of the cool things that they did was they figured out how to get the models not to look like sharks or not to be floating above the runway. So somehow they figured out to make all the aircraft look like they're actually on the ground, which is the one thing that everybody complains about VATSIM. I see these, you see like the shark tails like underneath the ground. So you actually did control? Well, that's good. I mean, if you were having, if it was that popular, there's definitely seems like there's a need for it. There definitely seems like, out of the three, VATSIM, IVO, and Pilot Edge, it seems like Pilot Edge is trying to make the best quality audio and the best quality, and importantly, in the controllers. Yeah, no, it'd take it'd probably take a bunch of retraining, to see what the, so as things have changed. But like you said, you probably could still do it, but it would, take a little refresher course. It's like anything. I think once you learn the system, yeah, some of the family just got home. That's one of the things about being on the stream. Yeah, so I'm going to run. Thanks again for coming by the stream. I certainly appreciate it. I appreciate the company. Probably be back on. I'm working tomorrow most of the day, so I don't think I'll be on tomorrow, but I think I'll have some free time Tuesday morning US time, so that might be late for you. So yeah, you have a good night too. Thanks again for coming by the stream, and go take a look and listen to Marcus MMC when he's on for entertainment value. Have a great night.